This is my mom and dad. They met in high school and became high school sweethearts. They have a long and complicated relationship as to how they met and being friends at first and dating and all of that, but eventually after high school they ended up getting married. Shortly after, they had their very first baby, which was me. I was born February 23rd, 2000 in northern Utah. About 3 years later, my parents ended up having my little brother Jordan. He was born February 7th, 2003, and about a month after he was born, we ended up moving down to southern Utah. Growing up, I had a pretty normal childhood. I was involved with dance and piano lessons and dirt bikes, and things were really good. Until I turned 7. My parents ended up getting a divorce, and that's always been really difficult in my life. I never understood what was going on when I was younger until I grew up. I always kind of thought that we were just getting two houses. I started really struggling in elementary school. I wasn't very good academically and I had a very low reading level. I also really struggled with friends. I had 2 super close friends, but for some reason we couldn't all be friends at the same time. My mom thought it would be a good idea to switch me and my brother to this new charter school that was opening up because she thought we would excel better in school. Unfortunately though, we had to wear uniforms and I absolutely hated it. Around this time, my dad was working for an airline, so we were able to fly for free. Me, my dad, and my brother would always take really fun little trips. When I was 10, my dad got me scuba dive certified, which was really cool. I went scuba diving for my first time in Hawaii, held an alligator in Florida, went to the Redwood Forest, took a weekend trip to Seattle, and many, many other places. I began doing competitive cheer on a competitive all-star cheer team. We were able to travel really fun places and compete against other teams. However, I do have scoliosis, so it kind of ended up hurting my back a lot. My mom ended up meeting a new guy and he moved in with us very fast. Unfortunately though, we did not get along at all. We were constantly fighting and butting heads, and that made mine and my mom's relationship very bad. So I ended up moving in with my dad and his girlfriend. Luckily, my dad only lived a couple miles away, so I was still able to be very close to my mom. I was attending a regular public high school, but I ended up switching to another private school, except this one was all about the fine arts. There was lots of singing, dancing, painting, and all that kind of stuff, and I realized that I just wasn't good at it and wanted to go back to a public high school. Things didn't end up working out at my dad's house, so I ended up moving back in with my mom. At this time in my life, I was very vulnerable and I started getting very depressed. I was constantly sad and emotional, and I was just struggling with figuring out who I was. I was struggling at school, I was struggling at home, and because of that, I started self-harming, which left very ugly scars on my body. My parents weren't really sure what to do about this, but eventually I ended up getting help, and after a year of going through that, I finally stopped. And as if I wasn't hard enough, I decided to make things even more difficult on my parents. So I started hanging around the wrong kind of friends, the wrong group of people. I was getting involved with boys and drugs, sneaking out, causing lots of trouble, and I still wasn't doing the best in school. Shortly after, I ended up meeting Anthony, and we started doing really good together. I did a lot better in school. I stopped hanging out with my friends because I was so focused on him, and I wasn't doing drugs anymore because he definitely wasn't okay with that. And yeah, we just started making each other better people. My junior year of high school, my mom ended up putting our house up for sale, and my grandparents put their house up for sale as well, and we ended up buying one large house together. And right after this, Anthony and I ended up finding out I was pregnant, which was very, very difficult. I was still in high school and I was only 16 years old when I found out the news. Up until this point of our relationship, Anthony and I had never had to deal with any hard situations. So when I found out I was pregnant, we instantly just started fighting a ton and falling apart because we didn't know how to deal with it. So we ended up breaking up for my whole entire pregnancy. I ended up having to switch schools again because the public school I was going to said that being pregnant was a distraction. So I went to a different school, and this school was more for troubled teens and kids who struggled in school. However, I worked my butt off. I did night school, homeschool, I went to regular school, took home packets, and so much more, and I ended up graduating a whole year early. 2 days after graduating high school, I ended up giving birth to my daughter, and it was the absolute best day of my life. About a month after my daughter was born, Anthony and I ended up getting back together, and we were better than ever. Our only downfall is he was currently living in Oregon at the time, and I was in Utah, so for a few months, we did have to do long distance. After a couple months of doing long distance, Anthony ended up moving in with me and my family, so he moved from Oregon to Utah, and it was so exciting for us. Ever since he moved in with me, we've done and accomplished so much together. We even got engaged. Anthony proposed to me on New Year's at the start of 2018. I began doing so much wedding planning. I bought my wedding dress, bought all of the decorations, did lots of coordinating with vendors, and much more. About a month before our wedding, I ended up calling it off. I wasn't truly ready, and we were kind of going through a rough patch in our relationship, so we decided to postpone the wedding. The week that our wedding was supposed to be, I ended up finding out that I was pregnant again. I really struggled the first trimester of my pregnancy. I was super emotional, and I wasn't at all excited for this pregnancy because it was totally unexpected. However, I am now 21 weeks pregnant, and Anthony and I are doing better than ever. We're finally warming up to the idea of welcoming a new baby into the world, and we're getting more and more excited. We just found out we're having a little boy, and we can't wait to meet him. I can't wait to see what else this crazy life brings us.